The wind screamed across the empty white land, carrying ice and snow with no mercy. Aaron pulled his coat tighter as he led the survey team forward. Their boots crunched deep into the frost, each step heavier than the last. The world they walked on was far from Earth, yet it felt older, colder, and less welcoming than anything they had known. The colony on this frozen planet was new. Humans had come to mine rare crystals, but strange signals had begun to rise from beneath the ice. Command ordered a survey team to find the source. Aaron, a quiet young explorer, walked among them. Unlike the others, who only thought of minerals and orders, Aaron felt something different in the air. There was a pull, a sense that the ice was hiding more than stone. After hours of walking, the scanners picked up a steady pulse under the ground. The readings were not natural. Energy waves moved in a pattern like a heartbeat. The team stopped near a ridge where ice walls rose like towers. There, half buried in the glacier, was a dark structure. It was not human, nor was it shaped by time. The walls curved in ways that no storm could carve. Aaron stared, his breath catching in his throat. They cut through the ice carefully, piece by piece, until the shape became clear. A massive door lay sealed within the frozen cliff. Symbols glowed faintly on its surface, alive even after centuries under frost. No one understood the language, but everyone knew this was no simple ruin. It was a vault. The leader of the team, Mara, called for caution. She ordered scans, but Aaron could not pull his eyes away. The door felt like it was watching him. When the machines confirmed there was a hollow chamber behind the wall, they began to melt the ice with heated drills. Hours passed before the vault finally opened with a sound like thunder. Cold air spilled out, thicker and heavier than the outside wind. Lights flickered to life deep within, as if the vault itself had been waiting for them. They entered slowly, their lamps cutting through the gloom. Inside, the walls were smooth crystal, glowing with pale blue light. Strange patterns ran across them, shifting when touched, as if alive. Aaron walked at the back, but when he stepped inside, he felt something stir within him. His heartbeat quickened. His hands trembled slightly, though he did not know why. The chamber was vast. Pillars of frozen light rose from floor to ceiling. In the center, half buried in ice, stood a figure. At first, they thought it was a statue. But when Aaron looked closer, he realized it was not stone. It was a woman. Her body was locked in chains that glowed like stars, each one pressed deep into the crystal around her. She was tall, her skin pale with a shimmer like frozen water. Her hair floated gently as if caught in a slow current. Her face was calm, her eyes closed, but she did not look dead. She looked asleep, as though time itself had paused for her. The team gasped. Mara's voice shook as she ordered everyone to step back. She said it was too dangerous, that they had no idea who or what she was. Others whispered, some afraid, some curious. Aaron said nothing. His eyes were fixed on her face. The chains that bound her were not simple metal. They pulsed with faint light, wrapping around her arms, her chest, even her neck. They were not designed just to hold. They were designed to keep her sealed forever. Aaron felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Whoever had built this place had feared her enough to bury her in ice for eternity. The others began to argue. Some wanted to leave and call command immediately. Others wanted to study the chains, thinking they might be worth more than the crystals they mined. But while they argued, Aaron stepped closer. Something inside him urged him forward, as if her presence called out to him alone. He stopped just before the wall of ice that separated her from him. his breath fogged against the surface. For a long moment, he simply stared. She looked peaceful, almost human, yet clearly not. Her features carried grace that no human could ever match. Even in chains, she looked more like a queen than a prisoner. And then, as Aaron's hand rose slowly to touch the ice, something happened. Her eyelids trembled. The faintest movement, but real. Her eyes opened just a little, revealing a soft glow like starlight trapped in water. Aaron froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He expected anger, fear, or some alien coldness. But instead, she looked at him gently. Her lips curved into the smallest smile, warm against the freezing air around her. Aaron's breath caught. He pressed his hand to the ice, almost without meaning to. His palm met the cold surface, and for a moment, it felt as though her warmth passed through the barrier. Then, her eyes closed again. The chains pulsed once more, as if sealing her back into sleep. Aaron stepped back, stunned. The others had not seen. They were still busy scanning the walls and arguing about reports. Only Aaron knew that she had awakened, if only for a heartbeat. Only he had seen her smile. He turned his eyes once more to the frozen woman. The vault around her hummed with ancient power, the air heavy with secrets. Aaron's chest filled with a strange resolve. He did not know who she was or why she had been locked away. But he knew one thing with certainty. She was not just a prisoner in ice. She was alive. And somehow, she had chosen to smile at him. The vault was colder than any place Aaron had ever known. Even with the heating units running, the air bit through their suits. Frost grew on the edges of their helmets and gear as if the place wanted to freeze them inside with her. The team set up scanners and lights, trying to map the chamber. Blue beams moved across the smooth walls, reflecting strange patterns that shifted like waves. Most of the crew focused on the symbols and the chains. Mara, the leader, stood tall with her arms crossed, her eyes sharp with worry. She ordered the team to take samples of the ice but warned them not to touch the woman bound in the center. She said they should wait for command to decide. But Aaron could not take his eyes away from her. The frozen woman stood like a dream inside the crystal. Her chains glowed faintly, holding her as if the vault itself feared her freedom. Aaron remembered the moment when her eyes had opened. He remembered the warmth he had felt even through the thick wall of ice. And he remembered her smile. It had not been cruel or cold. It had been gentle, like a quiet fire in the middle of endless snow. The others saw only a prisoner. Aaron saw something else. When the team moved to another chamber to scan more walls, Aaron stayed behind. He pretended to check his scanner, but in truth, he simply wanted to remain near her. The vault was silent except for the soft hum of the chains and the distant sound of ice shifting above. Slowly, Aaron stepped closer. His gloved hand touched the frozen barrier again. He leaned close, his breath fogging against the wall. "I know you can hear me," he whispered softly, though his words were lost in the cold. The woman did not open her eyes this time. But something changed. The chains around her arms pulsed brighter, like a slow heartbeat. Aaron felt it through the wall, faint but real. His chest tightened as if he was not just looking at her but being seen by her. For a moment, he imagined what it must have been like for her. Locked away in the ice for ages. Chained in silence, unable to move, unable to speak. How many years had passed since she had last seen another living face? And yet, when she had seen him, she had smiled. The thought filled Aaron with both awe and sorrow. Whoever she was no ordinary being. Footsteps echoed. Aaron quickly stepped back as Mara returned. Her eyes narrowed as she saw him near the frozen woman. "Keep your distance, Aaron," she warned. "We don't know what she is. We don't know if she's dangerous." Aaron nodded, but inside he disagreed. He had felt something no scanner could measure. He had seen something no machine could record. She was alive, and she was not cruel. That night, they camped in a heated shelter outside the vault. The storm raged over the ridge, snow covering their equipment like a blanket. The others slept, but Aaron lay awake, staring at the frost-covered roof of the tent. His mind kept replaying the glow of her eyes. He thought of the way the chains pulsed when he touched the ice. He thought of her smile. And deep inside, a quiet voice told him that she was not a danger to fear. She was a soul to save. The next morning, Mara gathered the team. She told them that command would be informed as soon as they returned to the colony. She ordered them to collect all the data they could and leave the vault untouched. "This is not our decision to make," she said firmly. "We are only explorers, not judges." The team agreed, but Aaron's chest tightened. He knew what would happen if command learned the truth. They would see her as a threat, not as a person. They would keep her locked away forever or worse. Throughout the day, Aaron stayed near the central chamber. When the others scanned other halls, he returned to her side. He watched her closely, waiting for even the smallest sign of life. Hours passed, and then, as he leaned near the ice, it happened again. Her eyelids moved. Her eyes opened slowly, just a sliver of light shining through. She looked at him directly this time. No one else saw. The chains pulsed, and Aaron felt warmth spread through his hand and into his chest. And then, a voice touched his mind. It was not loud, not like spoken words. It was soft, like a whisper inside his thoughts. "Do not fear me." Aaron gasped and almost stumbled back. His heart pounded. He looked around, but no one was there. The others were far away in another hall. It had been her. He was sure of it. Her eyes held his. Her lips did not move, but the voice came again, gentle and clear. "I am not your enemy." Aaron pressed his hand against the ice. "Who are you?" he whispered, though he was not sure if she could hear his voice. Her eyes softened, and the chains pulsed once more. "Myra," the voice said in his mind. Aaron repeated it under his breath. "Myra." The name felt strange and beautiful at once. She closed her eyes again, as if the effort had drained her. The vault returned to silence, and Aaron stood trembling, his hand still on the frozen wall. Mara's voice echoed from the other chamber, calling his name. Aaron stepped back quickly, his chest racing with secrets. He could not tell them, not yet. They would not believe him. They would call him mad, or worse, they would act in fear. As he walked back to the team, he knew the truth in his heart. She was alive. She could speak, not with words, but through thought. And she had trusted him enough to share her name. Myra. That night, as the storm howled above the ridge, Aaron lay awake once more. His thoughts burned with questions. Who had chained her here? Why was she locked away? And why had she chosen to smile at him, a simple human explorer, after all these ages? He did not know the answers. But he knew one thing with certainty. He could not leave her behind. The third day inside the vault felt heavier than the storm outside. Snow kept falling over the ridge, covering their camp in thick layers of white. The winds roared without pause, but the team remained focused on their task. They scanned the walls, marked the symbols, and sent encrypted reports to the colony. Yet all the while, Aaron's thoughts stayed on Myra. He could still feel the warmth from when she had spoken to him through the ice. Her voice had been soft, not like sound, but like a thought wrapped in light. It had settled in his mind, refusing to fade. Myra. Aaron repeated her name in silence as he worked. He tried to act normal among the others, but every glance toward the central chamber drew him back to her presence. She was not just a prisoner. She was something far greater. That morning, one of the engineers, Tomasz, discovered a hidden panel near the edge of the chamber. The surface lit up when touched, symbols dancing across it like flowing water. Mara ordered the team to record everything but not to interfere. Yet curiosity won over caution. The panel shifted open, revealing a long crystal slab filled with etched markings. Mara bent close, her scanner buzzing as it tried to translate. Slowly, words appeared on their screens, broken but clear enough to form meaning. The slab told of an ancient conflict. It spoke of beings who once ruled across the stars, beings of power and light. Among them was one whose strength grew beyond the others. Fearing her, they bound her in chains forged not of metal, but of woven energy and living crystal. The slab warned, if released, worlds may burn. The team fell silent after reading. Some stared at the frozen woman with fear, while others whispered about legends. One muttered that she might be a god, another called her a curse. Aaron's hands tightened around his scanner. He wanted to shout that they were wrong. She had spoken to him, not with threats, but with kindness. She had given him her name. A monster did not smile in chains. Mara turned sharply. No one goes near her again. We take what we've learned and leave. Command will decide what is to be done. The others nodded quickly. But Aaron felt his chest grow heavy. He could not obey. He knew what command would do. They would see her as danger, nothing more. She would remain trapped forever, or destroyed to erase the risk. That night, Aaron returned alone. The vault was quiet except for the faint hum of the chains. He stepped closer, his breath fogging against the frozen wall. Her eyes were closed, but he could feel her presence. He placed his hand on the ice. Myra, he whispered. The chains pulsed faintly. Slowly, her eyes opened, glowing with soft light. The warmth returned, spreading through his chest. Her voice touched his thoughts again. You have seen the words on the slab. Yes, Aaron whispered. It says you are dangerous. Her gaze did not waver. They feared me. They feared what I could do. I was not a destroyer. I was a guardian. But power can be twisted in the minds of those who wish for control. They called me a threat because they could not control me. Aaron's chest tightened. Then they locked you away. Her eyes lowered for a moment, and the chains glowed dimly. I defended those who were weak. I stood against those who enslaved. For this, I was betrayed. I was bound in chains older than your world. And for ages, I have stood here, waiting. Aaron's hand pressed harder against the ice. His heart raced as he understood. She was not the monster the slab described. She was a prisoner of fear, not guilt. They will never let you out, Aaron whispered. Not my team, not command. They will keep you in chains. Her eyes met his, glowing brighter. Then it is not them I look to. It is you. The words sank into him with heavy weight. Aaron felt torn. He was only a simple explorer, not a soldier, not a leader. Yet here she was, a being of ancient power, placing her hope in him. The next morning, Mara gathered the team again. She announced they would return to the colony within 2 days. The vault would be sealed, and guards would be posted until command arrived. Aaron's stomach twisted. 2 days. That was all the time left before Myra would be taken away forever. As the team packed equipment, Aaron studied the chains. He watched how the light pulsed, how the symbols shifted. The energy was not unbreakable. It was old, worn from ages of holding her. With the right tools, with enough courage, the chains could be broken. But to do so would mean defying orders, defying command, defying even his own team. If he was caught, he would be branded a traitor. That night, sleep did not come. Aaron sat outside the vault, staring at the storm sweeping across the white horizon. He thought of Earth, of the colony, of the duty drilled into him since childhood. But his thoughts always returned to her smile. To the voice that said, "Do not fear me." To the trust she placed in him alone. By dawn, his choice was clear. Aaron returned to the chamber before anyone else awoke. He placed his hand on the ice one last time. Her eyes opened, and she met his gaze with quiet strength. "I will find a way," Aaron whispered. "I will break the chains." The chains pulsed in answer, brighter than before, as if they had heard his promise. Myra's lips curved into a faint smile, and for a moment, the cold vault felt warm. Aaron turned away as footsteps echoed in the distance. His team was waking. Time was running out. The chains were old. The prison was failing. He knew what he had to do. The vault seemed quieter the next day, as if the storm outside had muffled even the hum of the chains. The team continued their work with tired faces, unaware that the heart of the chamber pulsed with something alive. Aaron stayed close, moving between tasks, pretending to focus on scanners, but his attention never left her. "Myra." He repeated her name in his mind again and again, almost like a prayer. Each time, it reminded him of her eyes glowing softly through the ice, of her voice brushing against his thoughts. She was no monster. She was no curse. She was someone who had suffered in silence for ages, yet still managed to smile when she saw him. The team leader, Mara, grew restless. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She ordered everyone to stay away from the central chamber, fearing an accident. Her voice was sharp, but Aaron noticed the fear behind it. Even Mara, who tried to appear unshaken, looked uneasy near the bound woman. That night, after the others fell asleep, Aaron returned alone. He carried only a lamp, its soft glow barely cutting through the blue crystal walls. The vault's silence wrapped around him, heavy and endless. He stepped into the chamber. Myra stood exactly as before, chained in crystal, her eyes closed as though lost in a dream. Aaron placed his hand gently on the ice. The cold burned against his glove. "Myra," he whispered. "It's me." "Aaron." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chains pulsed faintly, and her eyelids moved. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The glow was softer this time, weaker, but still enough to fill the chamber with light. Her voice brushed against his mind. "You came back." Aaron smiled faintly. "I had to. I could not leave you here alone." Her gaze held his, steady and calm. "Few would return. Most would fear me. Why do you not?" Aaron pressed his hand firmer against the wall. "Because I saw your smile. You are not like what the slab said. You are not what they feared. I believe you. The chains glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed again. Her voice carried sadness. Belief is rare. Long ago, there were some who trusted me too. But fear spreads faster than truth. Fear built these chains. Fear buried me in this vault. And fear has kept me here for ages. Aaron lowered his head. It is wrong. You do not deserve this. Her voice was soft, almost like a sigh. Do you know what it is to wait in silence, hearing only the echo of your own thoughts? To feel time move around you but never touch you? I have counted centuries without moving a step. And yet, I still hope. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He could almost hear the loneliness in her tone, a weight that no human could ever bear. Then why smile? He asked quietly. Why smile at me, a stranger you have never known? Her eyes glimmered. Because you touched the ice not with fear, but with kindness. You saw me, not the chains. For that moment, I was not a prisoner. I was alive again. Aaron's throat tightened. He did not know what to say. He had never been someone important, never a leader or a hero. Yet here she was, a being older than human history, finding hope in his simple touch. The silence stretched, but it was not empty. He could feel her presence through the ice, warm despite the freezing air. Then her voice returned, softer now, almost like a secret. The chains weaken. Time has worn them. But I cannot break them alone. They were made to bind power greater than any one being. To free me, another must choose. Another must stand against fear. Aaron's heart pounded. He already knew the truth. That choice would fall to him. He pressed his forehead lightly against the ice. If I free you, what will you do? Her glow dimmed slightly, but her gaze stayed steady. I will walk under the stars again. I will not harm your people. I seek no throne, no war. Only freedom. Only the chance to be more than a shadow in ice. Aaron closed his eyes. He wanted to believe her, and deep inside, he already did. He thought of the colony, of command, of how they would react if she were freed. They would see her as a weapon or a threat. They would never understand. But he did. When he opened his eyes, Myra was still watching him. Her faint smile returned, though her chains held her motionless. You trust me, Aaron whispered. Her voice touched his thoughts again. Yes. And trust is stronger than fear. Do not forget that. Aaron stayed by the ice until his lamp began to flicker. He whispered promises he was not sure he could keep. He told her that she would not be alone forever, that he would find a way. And though she spoke little more, her eyes never left his, holding onto him as though his presence alone gave her strength. The next morning, Aaron worked with tired eyes, but his heart burned with new fire. The team continued to gather data, mapping the vault's endless halls, unaware of what had passed. Only Aaron carried the weight of Myra's words. That night, when the storm outside grew wild, he returned again. This time he brought tools, hiding them beneath his coat. He studied the chains carefully, watching how their light pulsed in rhythm. The crystal bindings had cracks, fine lines barely visible, like old scars across the surface. He did not strike them yet. Not tonight. But he knew it was possible. Myra's eyes opened once more when his hand touched the wall. Her voice was faint, like wind across water. Do not rush. The vault will resist. The chains are bound to the walls themselves. When they break, this place will not remain silent. You must be ready. Aaron nodded slowly. Then I will be ready. Her faint smile returned, and the warmth passed through him again. For the first time since landing on this frozen world, Aaron did not feel the cold. As he left the chamber that night, he knew the truth. He was no longer only an explorer. He was a watcher, a guardian of a secret greater than any command could imagine. And soon, he would become the one who chose between fear and freedom. The storm above the ridge raged without pause. Snow buried their camp deeper each day, and the winds shook the tents like angry hands. Inside the vault, however, the silence grew heavier. The hum of the chains sounded louder to Aaron now, almost like a warning that time was running out. Mara had made her decision. The team would leave at first light. They had enough scans, enough samples, and enough records of the strange writings on the walls. Command would receive everything, and the vault would be sealed under guard until specialists arrived. To her, it was the only safe choice. But to Aaron, it was the worst choice. He could not allow Myra to remain chained. He had seen her eyes, her smile, her sorrow. He had felt her voice in his mind, soft but strong, trusting him above all others. He knew what command would do. They would bury her deeper, or worse, destroy her to erase the risk. She would vanish forever, and the hope in her smile would die with her. That night, when the team slept, Aaron stayed awake. He lay on his cot staring at the roof of the tent, listening to the storm clawing outside. His mind raced. Fear pulled him one way, courage the other. He was only one man against all of command, against rules older than his own career. But Myra's words returned to him. Trust is stronger than fear. By midnight, his choice was made. He rose quietly, careful not to wake the others. He gathered the tools he had hidden under his pack: cutting rods, energy drills, and power cells. His hands shook as he carried them into the vault. Each step felt like betrayal, yet also like truth. The chamber glowed faintly as he entered. Myra stood as always, bound in her prison of crystal, her chains pulsing with dim light. Aaron set the tools down and placed his hand on the wall. Her eyes opened slowly, and warmth spread through him. "You are ready," her voice touched his thoughts. Aaron nodded. "Yes. But I must move fast. They will find me." Her faint smile returned. "Do not fear them. Do what must be done." Aaron powered up the cutting rod. The beam of white light hissed against the ice, and sparks danced across the wall. The sound broke the silence of the vault like a scream. The chains pulsed brighter, resisting. Energy flared, throwing shadows across the chamber. The vault itself seemed alive. The walls vibrated as if the ancient prison felt the threat. Strange symbols lit up across the floor and ceiling, glowing red instead of blue. Aaron gritted his teeth and pressed harder. The rod cut into the first chain, sparks spraying against his suit. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind him. "Aaron! What are you doing?" He spun around. Mara stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock. She had followed him, perhaps suspecting his restlessness. Her hand tightened on her weapon, but her voice was full of disbelief more than anger. "Step away," she ordered. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Aaron shook his head, his voice trembling but firm. "I know exactly what I'm doing. She's not what the slab said. She's not a monster. She's alive, and she's good. We cannot leave her here." Mara's face hardened. "You're letting the illusion fool you. This is how ancient traps work. They trick the weak with sympathy. Think, Aaron. Why would they have buried her here if she was harmless? Aaron's chest burned. Because they feared her, not because she was guilty. I have spoken to her, Mara. She has spoken to me. She is not our enemy. Mara froze, her eyes narrowing. Spoken? That's impossible. Aaron turned back to the chains, pressing the rod harder. Cracks formed across the glowing links, spreading like veins of fire. The hum of the vault grew louder, the floor trembling under his boots. Mara stepped closer, her voice low and desperate. Stop this. If you break those chains, you may doom us all. Do you want to be the one who brings death to our colony? To humanity itself? Aaron's hands shook, but he kept cutting. I would rather risk freedom than guarantee eternal chains. We are human, Mara. We are meant to choose hope, not fear. The first chain snapped. The sound was like thunder crashing through the vault. Energy burst outward, knocking Aaron to his knees. Myra's body shuddered as if life rushed back into her veins. Her eyes glowed brighter, her breath fogging against the ice. The ground shook, sending shards of frost falling from the ceiling. Alarms from their scanners wailed, warning of unstable energy. Mara raised her weapon, aiming at the ice. Aaron, step away now. I won't let you unleash her. Aaron struggled to his feet. Then you will have to stop me. The chamber filled with roaring sound as the second chain cracked. Light flared brighter than their lamps, casting Myra in radiant glow. Her voice touched his thoughts again, stronger now. Do not stop. One more, and I will be free. Aaron grabbed the drill and pressed it against the final chain. Sparks flew, energy screeched, and the vault shook as if the planet itself resisted. Mara shouted over the roar, but Aaron could not hear her words. His whole being focused on one thing: breaking the chain. The final crack echoed like lightning. The last chain shattered, and a burst of light filled the chamber. Aaron fell back, shielding his eyes. When the glow faded, Myra stood free. The ice around her melted away in streams of water that hissed into mist. She stepped forward slowly, her body weak yet filled with grace. For the first time, she moved not as a prisoner, but as herself. Mara lowered her weapon, her face pale with shock. The vault's walls continued to rumble, symbols flashing violently, as if the prison itself had been broken. But Myra did not attack. She raised her hand, and instead of destruction, a shield of energy spread outward, protecting the chamber from falling shards of ice. Aaron stared in awe. She was free. She had kept her promise. Myra turned her gaze to him, her lips curving into the same gentle smile he had first seen. She reached out her hand, and when Aaron took it, warmth flooded through him, stronger than ever before. The vault shook one final time, but the storm inside his heart had already calmed. For the first time since they found her, Myra was no longer a silent watcher. She was alive, and she was free. The chains were gone. The vault shook like a living creature awakening from a long sleep, and the glowing walls flickered between blue and red. Ancient symbols pulsed angrily, as though the prison itself was furious at being broken. Myra stood free at last. Her steps were slow but steady, each movement graceful despite her weakness. Mist rose from the melted ice around her feet, and her body glowed faintly with energy she could no longer hide. Her eyes, shining like stars in deep water, fell on Aaron. She smiled softly, her hand still holding his. Aaron felt warmth rush through him, stronger than before. The storm outside, the alarms inside, even the trembling floor seemed to vanish in that moment. She was free. But reality returned quickly. Shouts echoed through the vault. Heavy boots pounded against the crystal floors. Soldiers poured into the chamber, weapons raised. They had been guarding the ridge, and the alarms from the vault had drawn them in. The team members followed behind them, fear written on their faces. Mara stepped forward, her eyes locked on Myra. Her voice carried both shock and fury. "What have you done, Aaron? Do you even understand what this means?" Aaron stood in front of Myra, spreading his arms wide. "I freed her. She is not what you think. She is not our enemy." The soldiers ignored his words. They aimed their rifles at Myra, their fingers tight on the triggers. The glowing woman took another step forward, but Aaron raised his hand quickly. "Wait. Don't move. They don't understand yet." Myra looked at the soldiers calmly, her glow soft instead of sharp. She did not raise her hand to strike. She only stood tall, her gaze steady. One of the soldiers shouted, "Stand down or we fire." Aaron's heart pounded. He could not let them hurt her. He turned to Mara, his voice desperate. "She protected us when the ice fell. She could have destroyed us all, but she saved us instead. Can't you see? She is not here to harm us." Mara's jaw clenched. Her eyes moved from Aaron to Myra, then back again. The ground trembled harder, sending cracks racing through the floor. Chunks of ice began to fall from the high ceiling. One soldier panicked and fired. The shot streaked through the air. Aaron braced himself, but before it reached Myra, a shimmering wall of energy appeared. The bullet hit the barrier and dissolved into harmless sparks. Myra raised her hand slowly, her voice soft in Aaron's mind. "I will not harm them. But I will not let them harm me." The vault groaned, more ice breaking loose. A massive shard fell toward the soldiers, sharp as a blade. In an instant, Myra stretched out her other hand. A second shield of light spread wide, catching the falling ice and shattering it before it could crush them. The soldiers froze, their weapons trembling. They had seen it with their own eyes. She had saved them, not attacked them. Aaron turned toward them, shouting over the roar of the collapsing vault. "Do you understand now? She is not the monster they told you about. She is a protector. She saved your lives." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Some lowered their weapons slightly, but others held them high, still unsure. Fear and doubt filled the chamber, thick as the mist rising from the melting ice. Mara stepped closer. Her voice shook, but not from anger this time. From awe. "Why would you save us? After what was done to you? After centuries in chains?" Myra's eyes glowed brighter. She did not speak with her lips, but her voice touched them all through the air, gentle and clear. "Because life is not mine to take. I was bound for standing against cruelty, but chains never changed my heart. I will not become what they feared." The soldiers lowered their rifles, one by one. Even the most hardened among them could not fire on her now. But the vault did not share their mercy. The entire chamber shook violently. The walls cracked open, light spilling from the fractures. The prison was breaking apart, unable to exist without its chains intact. Alarms screamed, louder than before. "We have to get out!" Tomash shouted, grabbing his gear. Aaron looked at Myra. She was weak, her glow flickering with each breath. She had spent her strength protecting them all. Without her shields, the falling ice and collapsing walls would crush them. He reached for her hand. "Can you walk?" Myra nodded faintly. With you, I can. Together, they ran toward the exit. The soldiers cleared the path, no longer enemies but allies in survival. Huge shards of ice fell around them, smashing against Myra's fading shields. Aaron supported her with one arm, guiding her steps as they stumbled through the trembling corridors. Behind them, the central chamber collapsed in a roar of thunder. The chains that had held her for ages turned to dust, and the vault walls cracked wider, as if the prison itself mourned its loss. They reached the outer gate just as the ceiling gave way. Light burst from the collapsing chamber, flooding the halls with blinding brilliance. Aaron shielded his eyes, pulling Myra through the melting door. Outside, the storm raged. Snow whipped across the ridge, but the vault's entrance glowed behind them, trembling with collapsing energy. The soldiers spread out, unsure what to do. Mara stood at the front, her gaze fixed on Myra. Aaron helped Myra down the icy slope. Her body swayed, her strength almost gone, but her smile never faded. When they reached the bottom, she turned to face the vault one last time. The entrance collapsed with a roar, sealing itself in a mountain of ice and stone. The vault was gone. Only the frozen land remained, quiet once more under the endless storm. Myra turned back to Aaron. Her voice filled his thoughts, softer than ever. The prison is no more. But freedom is fragile. They will come for me again. Your leaders will not trust me. Aaron squeezed her hand tightly. Then they will have to go through me first. Myra's eyes glowed with gratitude. She smiled, and even in the howling storm, her warmth reached every heart standing there. Mara stepped forward slowly. Her face carried both fear and wonder. She lowered her weapon and bowed her head. Maybe Aaron is right. Maybe fear blinded us. You saved us, and for that, I thank you. But command will not see it the same way. Aaron looked around at the soldiers, then back at Myra. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. But as Myra leaned on him for support, still smiling despite her weakness, he felt no doubt. Humanity had always feared the unknown. But sometimes, the unknown was not an enemy. Sometimes, it was a chance to prove that humans could choose hope over fear. The ridge was silent after the collapse. Snow drifted over the ruins of the vault, as if the mountain wanted to hide all traces of what had been buried for so long. The soldiers stood in a circle, their faces pale, their hearts torn between duty and the truth they had just witnessed. Myra leaned on Aaron, her glow faint, her steps unsteady. Though weak, her eyes were alive with freedom, and her smile had not faded. Aaron held her close, guiding her through the storm. He knew every second mattered now. Word would spread quickly. Command would send ships. Soon, the ridge would be filled with more soldiers, not just a handful but entire units with orders to capture or kill. Mara broke the silence first. Her voice carried through the storm. Command will not believe what we saw. They will say we were tricked, or corrupted. They will order us to hand her over. If we resist, we will be branded traitors. Aaron looked at her firmly. Then we resist. We stand for the truth, no matter the cost. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some lowered their heads. Others tightened their grips on their rifles. None of them spoke against him, but fear weighed on every face. Myra's soft voice filled their minds. You do not need to fight for me. I do not want blood spilled on my behalf. If they come, I will go willingly. That is the safer way. Aaron shook his head. No. If you go with them, they will never let you lie free. They will put you back in chains, or worse. I won't let that happen. She touched his hand gently, her eyes full of sorrow. You cannot fight all of them. You cannot win against an empire. Aaron met her gaze with steady fire. Maybe not. But I can make them see. If I stand with you, if we stand together, maybe others will understand. Humanity is not built on fear alone. It is built on hope. Mara stepped closer. Her eyes narrowed, but not in anger. In thought. She had always been strict, bound to rules and orders, but even she could not forget what she had seen inside the vault. Myra had saved them, not once but twice. She had shown mercy instead of hate. Finally, Mara nodded. If you choose to stand, Aaron, then I will stand with you. I do not know how long we can hold against command, but I will not hand her over to chains again. The soldiers looked at one another. One by one, they nodded too. They were afraid, but they could not deny the truth. For the first time since Myra's release, Aaron felt hope spread among them. Not only his hope, but theirs too. The storm above the ridge did not last forever. Hours later, the clouds split, and the dark shapes of command ships descended from the sky. They landed with thunder, shaking the ground. Rows of armored soldiers marched out, weapons gleaming in the light. At their front stood a stern officer with cold eyes. He spoke through a voice amplifier, his tone sharp. Step aside. By order of the High Council, the being you released is to be taken into custody. This is not a request. Aaron stood at the front, Myra just behind him. He raised his voice, steady and clear. She is not your prisoner. She saved our lives. She is no danger to us. We will not hand her over. The officer's gaze hardened. You dare defy the council? You are soldiers, sworn to obey. Do not let this alien deceive you. Mara stepped forward, her voice just as strong. We saw with our own eyes. She is no enemy. She protected us when she could have destroyed us. If you call that a lie, then you are blind. The officer raised his hand. Enough. You leave us no choice. Rows of rifles lifted as the soldiers prepared to fire. Aaron's heart pounded, but he did not move. He spread his arms wide, standing as a shield in front of Myra. Then you will shoot me first. If humanity chooses fear, it will destroy everything it claims to protect. The moment stretched like a blade between them. Snow swirled around the two sides, silence broken only by the wind. Myra touched Aaron's shoulder, her voice gentle in his mind. You do not need to do this. You have given me enough. Aaron whispered back, no. You gave me hope. Now I give it back. Before the officer could give the order, a low hum filled the air. Myra stepped forward, her glow returning stronger than before. She raised her hands, and a dome of light spread across the ridge. It shimmered like glass, surrounding the soldiers and shielding them from each other. Gasps filled the ranks as they saw the barrier. The officer shouted angrily, "What is this? A trick?" Myra's voice rang out, not in thoughts but in the air itself. Clear, calm, and strong. This is no trick. I was chained for centuries because of fear. I will not let fear rule again. I will not harm you, but I will not let you harm me. Choose another way. Choose trust. Her words struck like thunder. Even the hardened soldiers hesitated. They lowered their rifles slightly, doubt entering their eyes. They had never seen power like this used without violence. Aaron looked around at them, raising his voice. She is showing us the truth. Fear made chains, but trust can break them. We are human. We are more than fear. If we let her live free, we prove we are worthy of the stars. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Some nodded. Some lowered their weapons fully. The officer shouted at them to stand firm, but his voice cracked against the tide of doubt spreading through his own ranks. At last, one soldier stepped forward and dropped his rifle into the snow. I will not fight her. Another followed, and another, until most of the soldiers lowered their weapons. Only a few still obeyed the officer's command, and even they wavered. The officer's face twisted with rage. Fools! You are betraying everything we swore to protect. Mara stepped forward, her voice sharp. No. We are protecting what truly matters. We are protecting our humanity. The officer stood frozen, powerless against the unity before him. Myra lowered her hands, the dome of light fading slowly. The ridge returned to silence, the storm passing above. She turned to Aaron, her eyes soft. You gave me more than freedom. You gave me trust. That is stronger than any chain. Aaron smiled, relief washing over him. No. You gave us that. You reminded us who we are. The soldiers stood together, no longer divided. The vault was gone, the chains were gone, but something greater remained. On that frozen ridge, beneath the endless sky, humanity had faced its fear and chosen hope.